to the NABS Now podcast, brought to you by the National Association of Blind Students, a proud division of the National Federation of the Blind.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the NABS Now podcast. Today we're going to talk about everything on campus. And first, we're going to start by introducing who's on our episode today.
Hey, this is Robert Parsons. How's everybody doing? I am a master's student. I am at Western Michigan University up in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I am the vice president of the Michigan Association of Blind Students. Great to be here.
Hey everybody, this is Tarik Williams, being out here for another podcast. I'm currently working as an O&M instructor and program advisor at Savvy Services for the Blind. I had a really awesome day today. I actually went to the Global Leadership Summit and learned about a bunch of awesome and amazing things. So definitely looking forward to having a great conversation about my campus experience.
Hey everyone, I'm Santiago Hernandez, and I am currently majoring in computer information systems.
And I'm Nina, and I'm going to be hosting this episode, and I'm currently studying psychology and criminal justice, and I'm from New York. So to start off, we're just going to talk about something kind of interesting for y'all. Does anybody have any interesting things to say about school spirit? So I know in college, that's a huge thing, wear your colors, whatever sports your school is good at, but I think, Robert, you said you had an interesting undergrad experience with that.
Oh, of course. Well, gosh, why do I get thrown under the bus first? Okay, so
because you're new.
My undergraduate program, I was a dual bachelor sociology and anthropology minor. I was going to Randolph-Macon College, which is in Ashland, Virginia. It's a private school, and I served as the team mascot for the football games. So I was Buzz the Yellow Jacket. So I was let's just visualize this for a second. I am 6'7". I am a very, very tall and large man, and I was in a giant bee costume.
That is a fantastic visual that I have in my mind.
I think it's amazing to be part of something that's so popular, no pun intended. It's fun to be part of something so collective, but we had this halftime show every game that I had to perform at, and me being all culturally flavored, I was getting spicy on the football court every halftime game. So they used to call out for me to dance, and it was always off the same two songs, which was "We Will Rock You" and at the end was "We Are the Champions" by Queen. So me doing all of these crazy dance moves, the butterfly, the bogle, the running man, all of that stuff. I think I only fell one time in the costume, and at that time I kind of rolled around. I just rolled around a little bit. Everybody cheered and laughed and stuff. It was a great experience to everyone. I got to take a bunch of pictures. I got to hug people. I got to dance with parents. It was a lot of fun. And I bought the costume out during the freshman weekend when we would bring potential freshmen in and got to take pictures with them as well. So it was a great way to show team spirit there.
That's so cool. I go to a small school now. And so we have school spirit, definitely, but we don't have a ton of things going on with our mascot. But I remember in high school, we had our rivalries, and we had a fight song like every school does. But I thought our fight song was fake. I thought someone had made it up. And so I looked it up the other day because someone brought up fight songs to me, and it's an AC/DC song. I was like, oh, this is an actual thing. Okay. So clearly I need to pay more attention to, the context of school spirit. But
I mean, I think school spirit is definitely one of those awesome things for sure. And when you talk about the songs that your school had, I think I have the perfect mix of what you and Robert were saying, and the fact that I actually was in the marching band in college. And so being a part of the marching band was cool because we also hung out with the mascot and everything like that. And I never knew the words to the fight song that we had, but I knew how to play it on my baritone all the time because we had to play it at the beginning of every game, at the end we'd do the alma mater. And our football team wasn't great when I first got there, but by the second, third, or fourth year, we actually did really well, which was a lot of fun. Like I said, just being a part of the marching band, chanting different things in the stands. I don't know if it's exactly school spirit or not, because we used to chant turtles. I don't know why we did that, because we were the Golden Rams, but marching band, I think it's its own culture and its own.
Definitely.
But we were all having a good time with that for sure. And it was probably, I mean, I don't think anybody else on campus knew the fight song, but like we could play it. And then the second part of our fight song, they called it ABC. But the reason why they called it ABC was because it was like the Olympics fanfare, like da 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 da. Like so, we had a lot of fun with that.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
I have so much respect for people in the band. I think that it takes so much concentration. And me, seeing as I'm always a class clown, I could never like have the discipline to do it.
Singing like that is hard too, because like when you're trying to like be serious, it's really difficult.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for me as well. I'm just kidding. But
now that we're talking about some of your undergrad experiences, did any of you guys dorm? Because I know that's something that a lot of blind students get a little bit concerned about. I know that I dorm.
Yeah, I dormed as well. I have lived through so many different living experiences for college, so dorm was definitely one of my favorite parts of it, though.
And I know, Santiago, you're a commuter, so I want to get to you in a second, because that is also something a lot of blind students choose to do. But I know, as someone who dorms, a big concern a lot of times for a lot of blind students is roommates and sort of like advocating certain things to their roommates. And I don't know if y'all have any thoughts on that, and how to approach that situation, because I think that we worry about that being a little bit awkward sometimes.
Yeah, I guess I can start. So, I lived in the dorm in two different capacities. First, my first semester as a freshman, I was in a quad, so there were 3 other roommates.
Oh my goodness!
And at the time, I wasn't a guide dog user yet. I had my white cane, and I think the biggest challenge for that was just making sure that they understood that if I put something somewhere, it was for a reason. Like I had a method to my madness. Because I don't think my roommates understood how intricate I used to lay things out, especially given the small space we had. It was kind of loft style, so I had my own bed, but then the other 2 had a bunk bed, and the third bed was like a bed that hung over the desk. So certain things like refrigerators and things like that, they were in certain spots for us, but some of our things overlapped, and I would leave something somewhere and come back for it, like, hey, where'd my phone charger go? And it was like, oh, we just do it over there. And I'm like, no, don't do that. So I had to really do a lot of advocacy that first semester. But once we got into the housing roulette thing, I left that and went to a 2-person dorm room. And at that point, that was a little smoother. So only
I
thing we
think it's
fought over was the
important to
bathroom.
have that conversation, because I know that even if so I don't have a roommate because I started college with my guide dog, and I think even when I have friends come into my room and we hang out and things like that, my friends kind of, I had that conversation with them to, if you have to move something or whatever, just tell me. And I'm lucky because I have super good friends. They'll be like, hey, like, I'm doing homework at your desk. Can I move your thing over here? And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And I think it's just kind of advocating for yourself. I don't know, Tarik, if you have anything to add on that.
Yeah, no, I think you guys basically covered it. My college roommate, it was funny because like once he realized like that I was blind, because he did the whole social media thing and everything, realized that I was blind, and like was kind of like freaking out before he met me, and so we meet, and I guess, well, because I definitely consider him like a good friend and everything like that. They'll be friends for the rest of our lives, I think. But he's a little strange. But once he realized that I guess I was quote unquote normal, whatever that means to our society.
None of us on here are normal. Let's be real.
Right, exactly. We actually became pretty cool. Like we always talk about sports and everything like that. And I think that it's that because a lot of times we're the first blind person that a lot of people meet in the world. And not only am I this person's first blind person he ever met, but now I'm his roommate and he has to live with me for the next year, right? So like that was cool. But we had, like I said, like we had similar interests into sports and everything like that. And quick, like fun fact, shameless plug for like our national convention in Las Vegas. It was funny because so he actually is the athletic trainer now for an NBA basketball team, the Washington Wizards in DC, and they have their summer league in Las Vegas. And I didn't even think about it. And he texted me, it was like, Tarik, like, are you in Las Vegas right now? And I was like, oh man, I am. Are you? And he texted me back, like, I knew you'd be at like the convention with all these blind people. And then it was interesting because then we actually got to hang out again because we hadn't seen each other in a while. And like, he actually got me tickets to go check out one of the summer league games. And it was neat. Like, at the end of the day, like, it was a long, like, definitely like a lifelong friendship that I created, even though it started off with some, I would say, just not knowing about blindness at first, you know?
I think something I want to touch on too before we get into some commuter stuff is so advocating for your guide dog in a dorm is very interesting. I've had pretty good experiences with it. And I actually wasn't too concerned going in. A little background, my school, its main major, which is funny, I'm not anywhere near this, is vet technology. And so I have a lot of dog-loving people around me, which is actually really awesome. And we also have some ESAs and things like that and other service dogs. But I was actually caught off guard at one point because I ran into a few issues where people, don't, and everyone knows this, but they don't know the difference between ESAs and service dogs and things like that. And so I would have my dog around when he's not on harness, and he would, be behaved still. We'd be in the lounge studying and stuff like that, and someone would kind of be like, well, ESAs can't be out here and that sort of thing. And it was actually other students. I never had a problem with an RA or anything. And it came down to a lot of education and like a lot of patience. So I think it's one of those things like, and I'm sure, I don't know, Robert, if you had your dog when you were dorming at any point, but you do have to educate and you have to stand your ground because some people honestly don't know. And like, it's just like anywhere else, but this is almost more important because you do live there and like your dog has the right to, you have the right to take your dog and things like that. And that can be hard sometimes when you're like fighting with people you live near and with.
Yeah. One thing I also wanted to point out about dorms is using the services. So I think the biggest challenge that I had, even with my guide dog coming to live with me on campus, was actually my issue with students removing braille labels that I had placed on the vending machines and the washing
Oh
machine.
my God, yes. They peel off my stickers all the time.
Yeah. So I had put some bump dots on the washers and dryers in order to be able to label which did each function. And I remember I lived with a lot of football players in my dorm. So a lot of football players were removing them. And I had a really good relationship with my RA. So she did a whole seminar actually with like a mandatory dorm meeting along with the other RAs from the different floors and explained what the use of these were and why they were important. And what ended up happening was I lived on the first floor, but we ended up brailing and labeling the machines for the first through fourth floors just to make a point so that no one would be like, what is this here? I don't see it. Why it's on every machine. There's no reason to touch them. Leave them alone. And it got better. That did get better.
I've done the same thing so that if someone peels them off and like you don't have time to fix it, you can go to another floor. So that is a helpful thing. Like label appliances and stuff that aren't only on your floor. Because sometimes things do happen and things do come off and most people are good. Some people do peel things off and like you don't want to be stuck because it's happened.
Right. And mostly I was I think, I'm a foodie, so I was more concerned about the vending machines because if I didn't have my cherry Coke every day, something was wrong. So when they moved the grill off of that, I was like, oh no, we need a meeting right now. But we got it taken care of. So I wasn't too worried after.
And that's really good on the part of your RAs too. So speaking of dorm life, I know a lot of it is socializing, and that's something we do want to touch on a little bit. So I know Robert said he was a mascot, and he was, I still cannot, that is just the best thing ever. And you were a part of debate. And so I want to touch on clubs really fast. So I think it's something that's talked about a lot, but I know for me, and I'm a super loud person, but when I first went to school, it can be a little weird, like Tarik said, if you're the first blind person a lot of people have ever met, to kind of walk into some of these organizations and be like, hey, like, and take leadership positions and things like that. But it's worth it. And I'm curious what all y'all think about clubs and pushing yourself to join them and what they add to your experience.
Ooh, that's. You sure we got a couple of minutes? Can we get a couple of hours for this one?
I know, it's like its own whole thing. I guess
Yeah.
short and sweet, Robert. Short and sweet.
Okay, I'm gonna try. So, okay, so I am.
I love the
extremely.
sigh.
I'm extremely, yeah, because it's a lot. I'm extremely social. So I'm a master's student now, but as an undergrad and now as a master's, I get involved in everything because that's just me. I can't sit around and just be in like not around people and getting to meet others. So in undergrad, I think it was a big deal because I have acquired blindness. So in high school, I was part of debate, which is why I joined it in college. And I think it was a challenge. It was an adjustment for my coaches and for my fellow teammates to do because they thought that I didn't have any experience, one, and that two, how could this, completely blind person walk in with this 75-pound dog and whip our butts in a critique debate? So that took, I think, 2 practice rounds of them getting their behinds handed to them before they're like, whoa, okay, wait, let's take them to tournaments. So that's how we did that. But that wasn't more of an academic-based club. Now, when it came to social clubs, I ended up joining my fraternity, and that's how I think I got the courage to start running for positions within my club. I became the chaplain, but in becoming chaplain, I was able to kind of like kick open the gates of like the possibilities for me to do other things. So I moved into my fraternity house, and I ended up running for president and getting it. And at that point, I just thought I could rule the world. So then I became vice president of the French club. I started my own club on campus. I did a whole bunch of other stuff after that because that one chance you get gives you just so much confidence that you can just take over the world at that point when you're in school. So it's something I still do in grad school. I hold several positions outside of NFB at my campus as well. So I think it's something that all blind students definitely take advantage of because you get so much out of it between your connections and your co-curricular transcript. You could open up opportunities. I don't think I would have the scholarship I have to go to college right now for my master's if it wasn't for my co-curricular transcript and the combination of my grades with the leadership experience I got from being in clubs and social organizations.
I think it's funny that you talk about your debate because I joined debate my first semester and I worked during most of our meetings and so I couldn't go, but I did all the prep anyway, like on my
Mm-hmm.
own. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember we debated solitary confinement, I think. And like that's a whole other topic in itself, but the bottom line is that I went in and no one knew who I was. And at the end, let's just say I still have people coming up to me and being like, "Oh, this was in December." They're like, "Oh my God, were you that person who argued in that debate?" And I was like, "Probably." And
Yes.
my criminal justice professor, he's like the head of our department. He came up to me afterwards and he was like, I'm gonna be watching you now. He was like being
Yes.
because you can argue, and I just looked at him and I was like, no, I'm Italian. He was like,
Right.
okay,
There you
fair
go.
enough.
There you go.
But yeah, so
To just stray away from debate a little bit, because I don't want to make this all about debate. But what I will say,
debate is great.
one, challenge accepted, but two, is the fact that there's so many clubs out there, and not being afraid of creating even something new if you're interested in that. Like people always think it's cool. I actually, one club I'll mention aside from one of the ones I was saying before was I was a part of our university radio. And so I had my own radio show once a week. And so like that
You've
was
been on
an
this
awesome
podcast and you've never told
experience.
me that once.
I know. I forgot myself actually.
He's a man
Tarik.
of many secrets.
It was really neat because like I would get on. It's like you're now listening to WCUR Westchester 91.7 The Curve, your favorite college radio station, and it was a lot of fun. And you went, I use soundboards and everything like that. So if you think you want to do something in anything, it probably already exists. But if it doesn't, I say just get out there and make it exist.
Agreed.
Yes. What about this is like one of our last topics. What about navigating campus? So I think we all might have some stories that are entertaining, but Santiago, I'm going to start with you.
Honestly, what really helps is a repetition of the routes to the various buildings. That's honestly what helped me the best because once you do that, you eventually get used to those routes. And at first you could, really. I guess there are various forms of doing it. Like I know a lot of students use IRA at first on our campus to get down, get the hang of a route. Eventually they know the layout, they know how to get there and back. And, once you do that, once you know the location of the various buildings, then, chances are your classes will be in said buildings. And, from then on, once you find the building, I guess it's easier from there on, or at least for me.
Yeah, chunking it down is definitely helpful. Learning buildings, because you can find rooms within buildings and numbering systems. Usually just understanding the numbering systems is just really good, because you're never going to know where every single room is. It's not going to happen. But if you know like the main buildings and kind of like approximate locations of other buildings, I think that it's definitely doable.
Navigation, I think, is something that we could have a giant discussion on.
Hashtag dining halls are death, but that's
dining halls are a fun conversation. Navigating is a big thing for me. The fact that now I teach orientation, mobility, and cane travel now and everything like that. But I think the main thing is, like, I learned a lot just from exploring campus, right? And having to just do some exploring on my own, and being okay with just being alone, and being okay with even being a little lost sometimes. It took me a little to accept that, but it was okay, because then I problem solved through those different situations, and I found my way, and then found multiple ways to campus and everything like that. And so got my own routes and fought my way through, and now it's fun because now I'm teaching that to other students now and everything like that too. So it's fun.
I'm so happy that Tarik went before me, because I was legit sitting here like, I don't know if I want to say mine yet, because Tarik's a mobility instructor and he's gonna hit me with his cane if I say this right. But now I can say it. So I feel better. So I am a huge Pirates of the Caribbean.
Wait, canes are not weapons. We do not endorse that. Continue.
Okay.
Not their regular scheduled programming.
But no, I'm a big fan of Pirates of the Caribbean, and one thing I always do when I go new places is I quote Captain Barbosa, like, we're good and lost now. And he said that at World's End when he was trying to find the Davy Jones locker. And it's because I don't go looking for the target. I go looking to get lost.
You need to get a tattoo of that.
Yeah, I usually
it's literally the best.
So with my undergrad campus, I went on Saturdays where no one was outside in the morning. Either they were too tired from classes or from doing other stuff. So I would just get out there and just get off the Uber and just start just going random places. And I would every so often stop and go, what building is this? And they'd be like, oh, this is such and such. I had in my mind the places I needed to be. I knew the names of the buildings I needed to go to. And it was just classes, food, and bathrooms. That was the big deal for me, because I'm a diabetic and you have to find a bathroom. So at that point, I was just able to create my own routes. And I really was testing it for landmarks, because I needed to find specific landmarks, so that way I could orient myself, just in case it ever got to the point where I, didn't realize where I went too far or overshot something. Now, once I got my guide dog, I did the same thing. I still do the same thing. I'll leave Kansas home and I'll go on my own first to explore. And then I'll come back and get him, because without having an idea of it, he's just going to go find random things he thinks is interesting. So he's like, oh, look, a door. And I'm like, yeah, a door. And next thing you know, I'm inside of a maintenance closet. I'm like, oh, wait, no. Okay, wrong door. So I want to give myself some type of idea first before I take him out.
That's a good point. I have done it both ways. I've left my dog home and done it with my cane. I've explored with my dog. And then I've also, healed my dog and used my cane in small areas. And I think it's kind of interesting, because I think everybody has their different preferences. And that's another thing too, I think, is to not be embarrassed about getting lost, because I used to get so mad about it, and I was just and I just didn't like want to accept the fact that that would happen. But then I realized that other people honestly don't look badly on the fact that you get turned around sometimes, because other people do too. And I think that was something that I felt like it was a big deal and no one else did. It was just a me thing. And I think that's something to realize.
Yeah.
That frame of thought is so universal, and like I feel like sometimes it gets missed. Like, for example, you're on a sports team and your coach wants you guys to look at film. Well, you guys are going to look at your losses and see how you guys can learn from those. You know what I mean? Like the games where we won, like, okay, like, all right, cool, you guys did okay there, but let's really analyze this loss, why we lost or why we got lost, and coming back to this conversation. And then we learn so much more. And it's really fun.
I feel like we could talk about this for hours and hours, honestly. I feel like there's just so much. But if you guys, sort of in closing, okay, now this is going to be hard, we're talkative, but if you could give the students going into college or who are still kind of not sure about it, a piece of advice in like 5 words or less, it's gonna take a minute. What would it be?
I guess for me, it would be enjoy your experience, really.
I think mine would be talk to literally everyone, because I have made some of my closest friends because I literally just talk to people constantly.
I think I would say be proud of yourself. I think in being proud of the person you are and your identity and what you bring to the table allows for other people to be proud of you and to accept that and even support it. So it's a great way to break the ice.
What about you, Tarik?
Yeah, I mean, all these things might seem a little bit scary at first or different to different people and everything. But if I had to give something real quick, and this is going to sound really strange at first, so bear with me. But at the leadership seminar today, somebody mentioned dream small. And that's weird, right? Because we're always told to dream big and everything like that. But sometimes you got to take different steps to get to those bigger dreams and everything like that. And this dorming and everything like that. So don't be afraid to dream small and build and grow every day.
I love that. Like, maybe it's not getting lost on one class instead of worrying about finding your entire schedule perfectly. Like, little things add up to big things. And I think that's honestly a really good point, even though it's, a little bit opposite of what we would usually think.
Exactly.
Well, this was super fun. I'm really glad we got to tackle at least a portion of all the crazy stuff that happens on campus. If anyone listening has any thoughts, topic suggestions, or anything like that, we can be reached at podcast.nabs@gmail.com. And until next time, thanks for listening, guys. It was so fun working with y'all.